Hey y'all. Let's see. Hopefully the microphone is on. So of course communication. How's everybody doing today? What's going on? I am getting a little bit of a late start with the pre-read, and in fact, there really won't be much of a pre-read tonight. Just wanted to kind of check in, make sure that the mic was set up okay, make sure that the graphics were on, make sure the camera and everything is working. Let's see, who do I see here? I see Mimi Brown. Mimi Brown. Mimi likes the new production values. We're stepping it up little by little, course by course. We're trying to get everything together. I see Homie Lou in the building, but she's going to listen on YouTube because she's in the kitchen. Man, listen, if Homie Lou is in the kitchen, it's a good day for somebody. I don't know who, but somebody having a good day because Homie Lou, she be switching in the kitchen, man. I've been seeing the pictures. I want to eat the screen. That's how good the food looks, like seriously. So that's what's up. I see Brenda Carol Jackson Harvey, hi, and Angela Lee Rains, one of our regulars. It's so good to see everybody. So I originally I had sort of a quasi topic that I was going to talk about for this pre-read, but it kind of got away from me just as the time got away from me. But I will tell you what inspired it and how I came to think on it. So I just scrapped a significant section of a story that I have been working on. And when I say scrapped, I didn't throw it away. It's just not going to be used in this draft the way I see it going. It's not going to come out. The reason for that is I was working with a villain character, or the person that I knew was going to be the primary antagonist, and I just didn't like the fact that the antagonist was so obviously the bad guy right off the top. I like reveals. Now, I don't like hokey reveals. I don't like if everything is ooh, what a twist. I don't know if y'all know what that's from. That was from an episode of Adult Swim like 15 years ago when they were making fun of M. Night Shyamalan. And like everything that happened in the skit, he would turn around and go, ooh, what a twist. But yeah, like I don't care for when everything is a big twist, but I also don't care for one-dimensional villainy. I don't really think that for the most part, bad guys work that way. I think most bad guys have an agenda that they absolutely positively believe in, and they have a certain amount of charisma. That's how they get followers, right? That's how they get people on their team and on their cause. They have a certain amount of charisma that makes it easy to follow them, that makes it easy to want to see their goal happen. And so they don't really occur immediately as bad guys. And then something will happen inevitably where they push a line a little too far and people start to look differently. And then all of a sudden the mask comes off and their villainy is revealed. I like those. I like those kinds of complicated villains. I don't like the super complicated villains, the ones that are like, you might be right, like Killmonger and Thanos. I know a lot of people were like, Thanos had a point. And I'm like, what is wrong with you? And a lot of people were definitely Team Killmonger on Black Panther. And I'm like, no, like, I get it. I get the inclination, but no, there are lines to that. But anyway, I like more nuanced villains is the point. And the villain that I was writing had no nuance. He had no additional layer. He was on his face a villain. And it occurs for me that a lot of people like their villains exactly like that, which is why a lot of people like Donald Trump. And I mean, people who stand to gain absolutely nothing from his agenda, people who stand to lose it all, prefer him because he ain't got no mask on. So you never have to worry about some dude in a red kerchief saying, let's take the mask off and see who this really is. Old Man Withers. Like, right off the top, this motherfucker is a bad guy. Say hooray for the bad guy. Like, you know who you're dealing with. And I think a lot of people prefer that to the very cold and distressing comfort of having gotten close to someone, thinking they were an ally, only to find out later when they take the mask off and they reveal that they were a villain the whole time. What I find really fascinating is a trope in a lot of films and a lot of stories is when you've been chasing the shadowy bad guy, right? Like nobody, no mask, no nothing. It's a bad guy. You presume it's a bad guy because whenever the shadowy figure is around, bad things happen. And so you presume that that's the bad guy. But then when the reveal happens, it was the hero the whole time, but like a hero from another timeline, or a hero, the hero like in an alternate universe where things went horribly wrong. And I think about that a lot too. How many times am I the villain in my own story? How many times am I chasing something and there's this shadowy figure that gets in my way and I never can quite nab him. He's always one step ahead of me. And it's because he's me. And he knows my moves. And he knew what I was going to do because he's been here before. And so he works that whole scenario. How many times am I the villain? Am I the guy in the shadows? I think about that a lot. When I write villain characters, and I don't often write them, but when I write villain characters, I think about the motivations for them to get where they are. And I mean, sure, there are the typical motivations. There is always, greed is a powerful motivator. But most of the time, what I find it comes down to is fear. I think most people who are motivated to do something awful are doing it because of a fear that something they've done will be revealed, a fear that something that they feel they need will be lost, a fear that something that is important to them won't be protected if someone else is in power. And so they resort to absolutely disgusting tactics out of desperation and fear, convincing themselves the whole time that this is necessary. This is what has to be done. I wouldn't ordinarily do this, but desperate times, you see, require that. I think a lot of what we're looking at now, this awful, awful situation that we are in as a nation, is the strangling, choking fear of one old white man who played a long con for such a long time and now finds it all falling apart. An old white man who underestimated the scrutiny of his office and who never actually thought people would pay that much attention, because in the past, when it was just television or when it was just people's money, he could distract them. And he has done an amazing job of it now, but his fear is revealing his desperation, which is revealing the depth of his villainy, what he won't do to keep himself from being under the kind of scrutiny that would force him into a chair where he'd have to tell the truth, that would force him into an office where he was the one without the power. The villainy that he's willing to commit to avoid having his worst fears realized, that's one hell of a motivator. So, because I never have these talks with you about things that I'm thinking about writing and whatnot without challenging you a bit. What villainy are you up to? And what are you afraid of? What fear do you have that is pushing you to do villainous and awful things to yourself, to others? How's fear motivating your character arc? How's fear revealing the villainy in you? And maybe it's not. Maybe you are 100% hero, and that's awesome. Good for you. I'm not, but I'm a Gemini, so y'all knew that, right? I'm a Gemini, so there's definitely going to be some villainy in my future. There's going to be some villainy in my path. It's the nature of that duality. It'll be that shadowy figure who's always one step ahead. I'm going to keep chasing them, though. So maybe one day I'll catch him and I'll put him down. and then I'll get ahead. If you've never been the villain in your own story, then I challenge you to think about the people that you do identify as the villains in your story. And as you do so, consider their motivations. Don't go for the easy ones. Don't go for they just evil. They just greedy. They just assholes. Sure, that's fine, but dig a little harder and look for what fear might be motivating them. And I say that, well, one, because yes, in my heart of hearts, I do hope that you choose empathy. I always hope we choose empathy. But more so, I say that because if you know what they're afraid of, you know how to manipulate them. And what they're afraid of will almost certainly reveal itself in how they enact their villainy. Whatever it is that they're moving most aggressively toward, the thing in the opposite direction is the thing that they don't want you to see. That's the thing they're running from. Figure out what that thing is. And if you wield it, well, now you have a power position, don't you? This has been the pre-read. Just talking about mask on, fuck it, mask off. What happens when you take your mask off? Who's the villain underneath the mask in your story? That's it. The pre-read is over, and Storytime with Julian will start in about 5 minutes. Thanks, y'all, for coming through. I'm gonna go ahead and set up the the production values. I can't remember what the damn screen is called, but we'll be back in 5. Peace. Boom. And there it is. What's happening, y'all? So good to have you all here tonight. Welcome to Story Time with Julian. I am he, the Julian in question. And tonight we are doing our spooky series. We're going to read 2 stories tonight. And the night might be a little bit short. And if it is, that's okay. Because honestly, this horror thing is not really my jam. But I found a couple of entrees into it that I dig, so we're gonna rock with it throughout October. But if it ends early and that gives me some extra time to drink my chamomile tea and calm my little jangalang nerves, then that's what I'm gonna do. And we're all gonna be all right. How's everybody doing tonight? Is everybody good? Somebody give me some kind of heads up. Let me know how you doing. Let's see. I see Angel Monique is here. I see that we have Miranda Kennedy, and she is joining us on YouTube. So thank you for that. I think all of y'all, everybody, should check us out on the tube of views. Matter of fact, real quick, let's just go ahead and pow. There you go. So those are all the ways that you can and should find us. I absolutely encourage you to do so. I see Kamisha Umstead in the building. Hey, what's happening? I see L. Jack is here. Brenda Carol Jackson Harvey made it back. And Mimi Brown is here. She said she is watching the game and tired. And that's just from watching the game. She's not even playing the game. Just watching the game has made her tired. But that's all right. We are all going to chill and relax and get started with our stories tonight. Now, when you see me look the other way, it's because I am trying to make sure that I've got these banners and everything working. And it still takes me a little bit of time to do it just from my periphery. So it's kind of hard to look just at the camera. So sometimes I'm looking over here at the screen. But you know, little by little, step by step, we're just kind of growing and learning and making everything work. Let's see. Who else do I see? I see Terry Meredith. I was worried. I was like, Terry ain't gonna come tonight. She don't feel like listening to these stories. She's tired of Friday Black and Skin Folk. But I'm glad to see you. And I see Akanke Tyra Washington again. And yeah, all right. It's good to see y'all. We're going to go ahead and jump right into the first of our 2 stories for the night. I'm going to reach over here and get the book light going, the mic light, which now I can't find the power button for. It's always embarrassing when little shit don't go right when you're live. You know what I mean? It's like, you can do all the little pretty graphics you want to, Julian, but can you work a light? Can you work a light, you non-coordinated bastard? Call me when you know how to make a light work. Tonight's first story is Friday Black by Nana Kwame Adjei Brenya. Now, this is the titular story of the collection Friday Black, which you see here with this gorgeous, gorgeous cover. One of my favorite paperbacks. Just beautifully done. And this is actually one of the favorite books of Storytime with Julian. I was going to retire this book because we've read so much from it. And this being the title story, I was like, I don't want to. But this and one other story in here has a decided scary story bent. And I wanted to drop just one more homage and then we're going to put it down. But I highly recommend, if you are among one of our regular listeners and readers and you have not yet purchased this book, purchase this book. You will not regret it. You absolutely won't regret it. I know several of our audience has purchased this already. You will, of course, as always, find links to purchase this book. Our second story tonight is going to come from Nalo Hopkinson's Skin Folk. This is another book that we visited a few times and just has some lovely, lovely, rich, dark fantasy, I think we'll call it. I like to say that she's a little bit on the horror side, but I think it's probably more fair to call it dark fantasy. But starting off with Nana Kwame Adjei Brenya's Friday Black, let's begin. Get to your sections, Angela screams. Ravenous humans howl. Our gate whines and rattles as they shake and pull their grubby fingers like worms through the grating. I sit atop a tiny cabin roof made of hard plastic. My legs hang near the windows and fleeces hang inside of it. I hold my reach, an 8-foot-long metal pole with a plastic mouth at the end for grabbing hangers off the highest racks. I also use my reach to smack down Friday heads. It's my 4th Black Friday. On my first, a man from Connecticut bit a hole into my tricep, his slobber hot. I left the sales floor for 10 minutes so they could patch me up. Now I have a jagged smile on my left arm, a sickle, half circle, my Lucky Friday scar. I hear Richard's shoes flopping toward me. "You ready, big guy?" he says. I open one eye and look at him. I've never not been ready, so I don't say anything and close my eyes again. I get it. Eye of the tiger. I like it," Richard says. I nod slowly. He's nervous. He's a district manager, and this is the prominent mall. We're the biggest store in his territory. We're supposed to do $1 million over the next 30 days. Most of it's on me. The main gate creaks and groans. I saw the super shelf in the back. What's she wear, medium or large? Large, I say, opening both eyes. There's a contest. Whoever has the most sales gets to take home any coat in the store. When Richard asked me what I was going to do if I won, I told him that when I won, I was going to give one of the super shell parkas to my mother. Richard frowned but said that was honorable. I said that, yeah, it was. The super shells are the most expensive coats we have this season. Down-filled, lofted exterior with water-repellent finish. Zips vent to keep the thing breathable. Elastic hem plus faux fur on the hood for a luxurious touch. I know Richard would have had me choose literally anything else. That's half of why I chose it. I set it aside in the back. It's the only large we've got due to a shipment glitch. Nobody will touch it because I'm me. Most of the Friday heads are here for the pole face stuff. And whose name is lined up with pole face section on the daily breakdown of each day this weekend? It's not Lance or Michael, that's for sure. It's not the new kid Duo either. I look across to Denim where Duo is pacing back and forth, making sure his piles are neat and folded. He's a pretty good kid. Sometimes he'll actually ask to help with shipments. He wears a t-shirt and skinny jeans like most of our customers his age. Angela tells him to watch me, learn from me. She says he's my heir apparent. I like him, but he's not like me. He can sound honest. He knows how to see what people want, but he can't do what I can do. Not on Black Friday. But he'll survive Denim. Michael and Lance cover shoes and graphic tees. Michael and Lance might as well be anybody else. Lance is working the broom. There's a grind and a metallic rumble. Angela is in the front. She's pushed the button and turned the key. The main gate eats itself up as it rolls into the ceiling. "Get out of here!" I yell to Richard. He runs to the register where he'll back up. Well, he'll be back up to this backup safe. Maybe 80 people rush through the gate, clawing and stampeding, pushing racks and bodies aside. Have you ever seen people run from a fire or gunshots? It's like that, with less fear and more hunger. From my cabin, I see a child, a girl, maybe 6 years old, disappear as the wave of consumer fervor swallows her up. She is sprawled face down with dirty shoe prints on her pink coat. Lance walks up to the small pink body. He's pulling a pallet jack and holding a push broom. He thrusts the broom head into her side and tries to sweep her up onto the pallet jack so he can roll her into the section that we've designated for bodies. As he touches her, a woman wearing a gray scarf pushes him away and yanks the girl to her feet. I imagine the mother explaining that her tiny daughter isn't dead yet. She pulls the little girl toward me. The girl limps and tries to keep up, and then I have to forget about them. "Blue, son, sleek pack!" A man with wild eyes and a bubble vest screams at me as he grabs my left ankle. White foam drips from his mouth. I use my right foot to stomp his hand, and I feel his fingers crush beneath my boots. He howls, "Sleek pack, son!" while licking his injured hand. I look him in his eyes, deep red around the lids, redder at the corners. I understand him perfectly. What he's saying is this: my son loves me most on Christmas. I have him holidays, me and him, wants the one thing, only thing his mother won't on me, need to feel like father. Ever since that first time, since the bite, I can speak Black Friday, or I can understand it at least. Not fluently, but well enough. I have some of them in me. I hear the people, the sizes, the model, the make, and the reason, even if all they're doing is foaming at the mouth. I use my reach and pull a medium-sized, blue sleek pole face from the face-out rackway on the wall. "Thanks," he growls, when I throw the jacket in his face. I jump down from the cabin and swing the reach around so none of them can get too close. The long rod whistles in the air. Most of the customers can't speak in real words. The Friday Black has already taken most of their minds. Still, so many of them are the same. I grab 2 medium fleeces without anyone asking for them because I know somebody wants one. They howl and scream, "Daughter, son, girlfriend, husband, friend, me, daughter, son." I throw one of the fleeces toward the registers and one toward the back wall. The crowd splits. Near the register, a woman in her 30s takes off her heel and smashes a child in the jaw with it just before he can grab the fleece. She inspects the tag, sees it's a medium, then throws it down on top of the boy with the heel-sized hole in his cheek. I toss 2 large fleeces and 2 medium fleeces into the crowds. Then I deal with the customers who still can speak, who are nudging and pushing around me. "Cole, bubble, small, me, Cole," a man says while beating his chest. I'm the only one at work who doesn't have a coal meister. How can I be a senior advisor without? The only one. I press the end of my reach against his neck to keep his hungry mouth from me. Then, without taking my eyes off him, I grab one of the Coalmeister bubble coats from the rack behind me. And then it's in his hands. He hugs the coat and runs to the register. "Us! Us!" the woman with the gray scarf says. She has large gold earrings hanging off the sides of her head. The pink coat child is at her shins. The child's face is bruised, but she isn't crying at all. "Can't! The sty!" Gray Scarf's husband says. "Family Time needs 42-inch high def. The Bed-Stuy deal is only while supplies last. Can't afford any other day. Black Friday takes everybody differently. It's rough on families. They can't always hear what I hear." "Asshole!" the wife seethes. Then she stares back at me. "Pole face, pink," she says, pointing to her child. "Coal, sleek, pack," she continues, pointing to her own face. "A new kitty pole face and a coal sleek pack, a coal meister, family set." The woman has both the coats she needs in a second, then storms off, dragging her child behind her. It isn't always like this. This is the Black Weekend. Other times, if somebody dies, at least a cleanup crew comes with a tarp. Last year, the Friday Black took 129 people. Black Friday is a special case. We're still a hub of customer care and interpersonal cohesiveness, mall management said in a mall-wide memo, as if caring about people is something you can turn on and off. In the first 5 hours, I do 7,000 plus. No one has ever sold like that before. Soon I'll have a $500 jacket as proof to my mother that I'll love her forever. When I imagine how her face will look as I give it to her, my heart beats faster. At 5 in the morning, the lull comes. The first wave of shoppers is home or sleeping or dead in various corners of the mall. Our store has 3 bodies in the body section. The first came an hour in. A woman climbed the denim wall looking for a second pair her size. She was screaming and rocking the wooden cubby wall so hard that the whole thing almost fell on Duo and everybody in his section. Duo poked her off the wall with his reach. She fell on her neck. Another woman snatched the skinny stretches from her dead hands. Lance came with the pallet jack, his broom, and some paper towels. My first break is at 5:30 a.m. On my way to clock out, I walk through the denim. "Looks like you had it pretty crazy," I say to Duo. There are jeans everywhere, none of them folded, bloodstains all over the floor. "Yeah," he says. A young man in a white t-shirt staggers towards us, He says. He's gnawing on something. I move to sling him to one of the slim straights in his size. He thinks it'll make him popular at school. Bus stop, because of how quickly Duo tosses the right kind of jeans to the customer, who takes them and limps to the register. You understand them? I ask. Now I do, Duo says. He kicks at a tooth that's lying on the ground. Then he shows me a small bloody mark in the space between his thumb and forefinger. That's Black Friday. This is my first. Well, the worst part is done, I say, kind of smiling, trying to see where he's at. I don't know, he says. Yeah, I say, and continue toward the register. My break is after yours, Duo says. That's retail for hurry up, I'm hungry. I punch my username and password into the computer, and Richard bows down to me like I'm to be worshipped. Angela nods at me like a proud mama. While I'm gone, Angela will take my spot in the pole face section. It's the lull, so she can handle it. Outside the store, the promenade is bloody and broken, so I can tell it's been a great Black Friday. There are people strung out over branches and feet poking out of trash bins. Christmas music you can't escape plays from speakers you cannot see. Christmas is God here. I'm hungry. My family didn't really do the Thanksgiving thing this year, which felt like a relief, except I missed my chance for stuffing. I'd offered to help with some of the shopping. My mom had lost her job. I make $8.50 an hour, but I saved. Mom, dad, sister, me. But then we skipped the whole thing because we don't really like one another anymore. That was one of the side effects of lean living. We used to play games together. Now my parents yell about money. And when they aren't doing that, we are quiet. I walk, wondering if there's stuffing anywhere in the mall. My second Black Friday, our store was doing pretty well, so there was a commission. You got something like 2.5% of all your sales. It was a big deal for us on the floor. That was when Wendy was sales lead, which meant she had the highest sales goals. That year, she brought in a pie for everybody. I made sure not to eat any of it because I don't eat anything somebody tries to shove down my throat, and she couldn't stop talking about the pie. We can have Thanksgiving in the store. It's homemade. Everybody was saying how nice she was, how thoughtful. Then Wendy and I were the only ones who didn't have the shits all day. Who knows what she put in that pie? I made it my mission to beat her, and I did. I squashed her. Maybe it was because, thanks to her biological warfare, I had shoes, graphic tees, hats, plus denim to cover while she was stuck in pole face. Maybe it was because winter was warm that year. Maybe it was that I'm the greatest goddamn salesman this store has ever seen and ever will see. But I squashed her. I've been lead ever since. Wendy was gone by New Year's. I put extra commission money towards some controllers for my game box. I make it to the food court where the smell of food wafts over the stench of the freshly deceased like the muzzle on a rabid dog. There are survivors, champions of the first wave, pulling bags stretched to their capacity, using the last of their energy to haul their newly purchased happiness home. And there are the dead everywhere. I get $2 menu burgers, a small fry, and a drink from Burgerland. The man at the cash register has seen so much and has had so much caffeine that I had to remind him to take money from me. Even as he takes it, he stares forward, past me, looking at nothing. I sit at one of the white tables in the food court that doesn't have a corpse on it. I bite into my burger and chew slowly. If I hold a bite in my mouth long enough, it softens into something that feels almost like stuffing. While I eat, a woman drags a television in a box to the table in front of me. She pushes a woman who is lying face down in a small puddle of red blood out of a chair. Then she sits down. I recognize her from the store. One of her ears looks like it's been mangled by teeth. The other still has a large gold earring. Her gray scarf is gone, but she's wearing her new coat. When I look at her, she hisses and shows her pointy white teeth. It's okay, I say. I helped you. She looks at me confused. Sleek pack coal, I say. Black Friday, pointing to myself, then back to her. The creases on her face smooth. She relaxes into her seat and rubs her cheek into the faux fur of the hood. Good haul? I ask. She nods hard and pets the face of the television box. Family still shopping? I ask. The woman dips her pointer finger into the blood puddle in front of her. 42 inches high def, she says. This is the only time they can afford it. With a red finger, she makes a small circle, then points 2 eyes onto the cardboard box, then drags a smile beneath the eyes. The blood dries out before she gets all the way across the face. What? I ask. Dead, she says. Bye-sty. Trample. Oh, I say. Right. She was weak. He was weak. I am strong, the woman says, as she pets the face on the box. It hardly smears at all. Weak, she repeats. Got it, I say. I finish one burger, then I toss the second to the woman. She catches it, tears the paper away, and eats gleefully. My phone moves in my pocket and I grab it. I still have 15 minutes, but it's the store. We need you, Richard screams. I just left, I say, getting up and starting to walk. Duo just quit. Oh. He said he needed to go on break, and I said wait a few minutes, and he just left. He's gone. I'm coming, I say. I get up, walk toward the escalator. I step to the conveyor and float down. Coming up on the opposite escalator is Duo. Hungry? I say. I couldn't do it, man. That shit is sad, Duo says. I grunt something because I don't have the words to tell him that it is sad, but it's all I have. It's a nice coat, he says, but that's it. What? The coat isn't proof. She knows. You don't need to, bro, he says, turning around and rising up the escalator. Don't do that, I say. Not to me. Sorry. Yeah, I say. And then Duo flies away. My third Black Friday, the company wasn't doing great. There was no commission and no prize. I still outsold everybody. Back in the store, there's a new body in the body pile in the pole face. A young woman is trying to kill Angela. She's clawing and screaming, and even from the store entrance, I know what she wants. Angela is pinned against the wall where the super shells are. It looks like the girl's about to bite Angela's nose off. Lance is rolling a teen toward the body pile, and Michael is helping a customer in the shoe section. Richard looks at me and points to Angela and the girl. I know what the girl wants. Help! Angela yells, turning to look at me. She has a reach between her and the girl, but she won't last much longer. I turn to go to the back room. I look up at the only large supershell parka hanging there. I pull it off the hanger. I go outside and the girl can smell it. She looks in my direction and howls like a wolf. I won't be alone with this, she's saying. They'll like me now. She rushes towards me. I dangle the coat out to the side like a matador. She runs toward it, and I let it go and leap out of the way as she comes crashing through the parka. Then, with the coat in her hand, she says, "Thank you," in a raspy voice. I watch her at the register. Have a nice day, Richard says as he rings her up. She growls, then says, You too. I punch back in at the computer. Angela puts a hand on my shoulder. Thanks, she says. Yep, I say. Then I go back to my section. A herd of shoppers stops in front of the store. They see the pole face we have left. I climb on top of my cabin. The people stampede. Some bodies fall and get up. Some bodies fall and stay down. They scream and hiss and claw and moan. I grab my reach and watch the blood-messed humans with money in their wallets and the Friday black in their brains and run toward me. I smile out at the crowd. How can I help you today? They push and point in all directions. And thus endeth the story. So you just heard Friday Black from Friday Black. It's a little early, but because I was kind of thinking about reading it around close to Thanksgiving, but I've got something special in store for y'all close to Thanksgiving. So we went ahead and read it around Halloween. Why not? But yeah, I think it's a fantastic sort of allegorical story about how consumerism turns us into zombies. I mean, that's obvious on its surface. But what do y'all think? And if you like the story Friday Black and you like the works of Nalo Kwame, Adjei, Brenya, you can see the link right there in the comments section. You can purchase Friday Black at a different book list website. And the URL for that is www.adifferentbooklist.com. Let me know your thoughts. Come on, give me a little water. Mimi Brown said, okay, that's creepy as fuck. I agree. Angel Monique said, love that. Excellent creep factor. Oh, you know what? Why am I telling you what people said? Look at this. Check it out. Boop. There we go. I can just show you. I don't have to there. Yeah, so excellent creep factor. I think the creep factor was fantastic. I actually was expecting, because I had not read this story before, but because so many members of the sort of Storytime crew have this book, I have heard reports from other people about what it's about. So I was like, this feels like a good story to start off our spooky series. I was thinking it was going to be a lot more vicious, a lot more brutal. The creepiness, I think, really kind of comes from knowing that we're not that far off from it, right? Like when you think about how many people have been injured and unfortunately killed at Walmarts, and the fact that we completely forget that these are fellow human beings, that everybody that's standing out there just wants something to bring home to make someone in their lives happy. Akanke says, I will never Black Friday shop after hearing this. Okay, so then the spooky factor is working. We're definitely getting a little bit of the scary in. If people are saying they are not ever going Black Friday shop, I feel like that's, I feel like Nana has definitely done his job. The part that I'm still wrestling with, and I'm going to have to go back and do a private reading of this just for myself, I'm trying to figure out who Duo is. Did I misread something? Like that boy flew away. That boy flew away. He's like, don't do this to me. And then like I was like, did I read that? Did he flew? Did the boy fly? Those of you all who have the book and who have read this already, am I missing something, or did that boy fly? It seemed like that boy flew. Earlier on today, we talked in the pre-read, we talked about character motivations. I think part of what makes this story interesting and appealing to me is I can absolutely identify with putting yourself in a completely crazy situation for your moms. He was willing to put his life on the line, risk his life, just to get her a coat, just so that she could have some material symbol of his love. And I have been in similar situations. I've been, not obviously not to that degree, not to where the zombies were going to eat me. But yeah, I found it really interesting. L-Jack says the poverty causes all of the same things, creates savagery where it's unnecessary. Yeah. It was interesting that the motivations of the so-called monsters, all of them, none of them really seemed to be so much about greed as it was desperation for love, or this being the only time they could afford something. And when I think about, in the little bit of a pre-read that we did have, we talked about villainy. When I think about how the markup works for so many of the retail items that we buy, for so many of the retail items that people are desperate to have, and how much they mean to the people, and how ridiculously high the markup is to satisfy the suppliers and to feed the chain in between. The retailers aren't even getting the bulk of that. So much of that is going back to the manufacturers, to the labels. And that is a certain kind of villainy to me, to create an environment where that you're contributing to or establishing sort of a thing that will create a cultural shift. And that it's creating this cultural shift. And so you price it premium, but then you dangle it in front of those who can afford it the least. And it creates a certain desperation. Good comment though, L-Jack. Let's see. Jordan says that in 42 years, first of all, 42 of whose years? What is this picture from? When is this? Because that's not 42. Get out my face. Don't come on my TV program lying about your age, Jordis. I'm not having it. I don't appreciate it. But in someone's 42 years of living, she only did Black Friday one time. Listen, I'm not built for it. Consumerism. I'm a true consumer, but I'm not built for it. Latricia likes that the salesman could understand the monsters. I found it interesting that being bitten gave you the ability to communicate with them. I am curious what happens when the Friday Black has released them. Do they go back to normal? What will happen to that woman when she comes to realize that her whole family is dead and all she has is a 42-inch TV, which isn't even that big a TV by modern standards? One time was it for me, says Joker. I was like 19 and like, nah, pimp, y'all can have it. Understood. Capitalism, it does indeed pimp us all. Let's see. Tauntaun says she is a conscientious objector to Black Friday shopping, as am I. Working in marketing can really turn you off of the manufactured consumerism and the manufactured urgency. Models that could ordinarily not sell, models that they know are not their best product, that they know they've got a new model coming out in 2 months, but they're going to push this one and tell you it's a great deal. And there's all this manufactured urgency around it. I just can't deal with it. George is just continuing to lie, and I'm not here for it. I refuse to be party to this. Okay. Just not on my watch. No, that's fantastic. It's a wonderful picture and you look amazing. So congratulations on that. What it do, superstars? Okay, well, hi, Saniqua. Good to see you. All right, so we're going to move on from the comments. We just did Friday Black by Nana Kwame Adjei Brenya. We're going to shift things a little bit into a much darker kind of story. I think this one, that one, Friday Black, reads a little bit, like I said, it's kind of allegorical, right? This just creepy. Now, this one I have actually read parts of. I read a little bit in advance and it scared the shit out of me. I was like, I'm not here for it. So I don't know how it ends necessarily, but I know how it starts. It's you know what? I'm gonna just read the story. How about I just read the story? That's what it's called. It's called Story Time with Julian, not explaining why shit makes you scared, Julian. And that's fine. All right, y'all, hold on. Let me just go ahead and pull the comments back up so that I can stand to see a little bit. All right. And we're now beginning with Slow Cold Chick from the collection Skin Folk. Skin Folk is by Nalo Hopkinson, a fantasy writer, an award-winning fantasy writer, Jamaican-born, Canada resident, makes for an interesting combination of cultures and lifestyles. And so I find her to be a fascinating read. After the first, some of you may recall some of the earlier readings we did, Tan Tan and Dry Bone was the first thing actually that we read from this book, and it was a phenomenal read. Really, really great story. And then we read a couple of The Lilies Them a Blow. We read not too long ago. Greedy Choke Puppy and A Habit of Waste. And if you recall, A Habit of Waste was one that was not at all in sort of the creepy realm. So she's an interesting author to try and put a pin on, to try and get a sense of exactly who she is. But yeah, Nalo she kind of comes at you from a bunch of different angles. So it'll be interesting to see what we're in store for with Slow Cold Chick. I'm going to start off reading the prologue that she has above the actual story. The radio arm of the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation was once looking for emerging writers from whom to commission new fiction. Writer Olive Sr. recommended me to them. CBC Radio asked me for a story, but cautioned that I'd have to watch the sex and the violence, since it was public radio. In fact, they said they were actually more worried about the sex, since they got way more angry phone calls about sexual conduct in their programs than about violence. But after that warning, it seemed that all I could see was the sex and the violence. Slow Cold Chick is the result of my effort to restrain those twin energies. Let's begin. They'd cut off the phone. Blaze slammed the receiver back into its cradle. Ona couldn't wait just a little more, she asked resentfully of the silent instrument. I get paid Friday, you know. Now she couldn't ask her mother whether to put milk or water in the cornbread. Tch! Blaze flounced into the kitchen and scowled at the mixing bowl on the counter. Mummy used milk. She was almost sure of it. Blaze poured milk and oil, remembering her mother's homemade cornbread, yellow, warm-smelling, hot from the oven with butter melting more yellow into it. Yes, Mummy used milk. And eggs. And Blaze didn't have any. Damn! It was almost a week until payday. She made a sucking sound of irritation. Frustration burned deep in her chest. A movement through her kitchen window caught her eye. From her main floor apartment, Blaze could easily see the Venus-built lady in the next-door garden. The Venus-built lady's cottage always gave the appearance of having just popped into existence, unexpected and anachronistic as Doctor Who's call box. Chocolate dark limbs peeking out of her plush white dressing gown, the Venus-built lady waded indolently through rioting ivy, swollen red roses, nasturtiums that pursed into succulent lips. Blazy had often thought to ask the beautiful woman what her name was, but to meet the eyes of someone so self-possessed, much less speak to her. Branches laden, an autheate tree bobbed tumescent maroon fruit, so low the lady could have plucked them with her mouth. Blaze's mother sometimes sent her autheate apples from Jamaica, but how did the tropical tree flourish in this northern climate? As ever, the Venus-built lady's gingered brown hair flung itself in the crinkled dreadnoughts down her back, tangled as lovers' fingers. Blaze had chemically straightened all the kinks out of her own hair. The Venus-built lady was laying a circle of conch shells around a bed of bleeding hearts. She reached out to caress the plant's pink flowers. At her touch, they shivered delicately. Blaze looked down at her own dull brown hands. The Venus-built lady's skin had the glow of full fat chocolate. The woman bent and straightened, leaving a pouting conch shell behind her each time, until pink echoed pink in a circle around the bleeding hearts. Blaze thought of the shells singing as the wind blew past their lips. The lady turned away from the flower bed and swayed amply up the garden path. As her foot touched the first step of the cottage, a fat velvet-petaled rose leaned beseechingly toward her. She tugged the rose from its stem and ate it. Then she opened her gingerbread door and sashayed inside. Weird. Blaze imagined a spineless green grub squirming voluptuously in the heart of the overblown rose, and an avid mouth descending toward it. She shuddered. I don't want to eat the worm. It had gotten hot in the apartment. The fridge burped distractedly. Blaze went to it and opened it. There was an egg huddling in one of the little cups inside the fridge door. Where had that come from? Exactly what she needed. She was reaching eagerly for it when the stench from deep inside the fridge slid into her nostrils, a poisonous vinegary tang. The Scotch bonnet pepper sauce she'd made last year sometime was rotting in its glass jar. The pepper crusting the jar's lid had begun to corrode the metal. A vile greenness bloomed on the surface of the red liquid. Blaze kissed her teeth in disgust and dumped the moldering sauce into the sink. Cornbread now. The egg was a little too big for its cradle, a little rounder than eggs usually were. Blaze picked it up. Its cold, mercurial weight shifted in her palm, sucking warmth from her hand. She cracked it into the bowl. With a hollow clomp, a mass disappeared below the surface of the liquid. A sulfur rot stench filled the kitchen. Backside! Blaze swallowed a wave of anger. A bubble of fetid air popped from the depths of the bowl. Blaze grimaced and began to pour the swampy goop down the drain. The tainted milk and oil mingled with the pepper sauce. Something rubbery thumped into the mouth of the drain and lay there. It was small and gray and jointed. A naked, fully formed chicken fetus. Blaze's gorge rose. When the thing moved, wallowing in the pepper sauce remaining in the sink, she nearly spewed the coffee she'd drunk that morning. Rattled the cold-grown chick. Slowly, it extended a peeled head on a wobbly neck. Its tiny beak was as thin as nail parings. Its eyes creaked open, stretching a red film of pepper sauce from lid to lid. It shrieked tinnily as the pepper sauce made contact with its eyes. Frantically, it shook its head, its pimply gray body contorted in agony. It shrieked again. Fighting revulsion, Blaze grabbed a cooking spoon and scooped it up. Shh. She wadded a tea towel in her free hand and deposited the bird into it. It wailed and stopped its own head against the tea towel. Through the fabric, Blaze could feel the bird's cartilaginous body writhing against her palm. Her skin crawled. The chick complained. Blaze filled the cooking spoon with water and trickled it over the gray, bald head. The bird fought and sputtered, reddened eyes glaring accusingly at Blaze. Make up your mind, she flared. You want fire in your eyes or cool water? The chick tried to peck. Blaze hissed angrily. Well, here then, take that. She scooped some drops of pepper sauce from the sink with her fingers and flicked it at the bird's head. It yelped in indignation. Then, worm-blind, a tiny gray tongue snaked out of its mouth and licked some of the pepper sauce off its beak. This time it didn't seem to mind the taste of the pepper. It licked it off, then blinked its burned eyes clear. Its body a blur, it shook the water off. It sat up straight in her palm, staring alertly at her. It seemed a little bigger. It did have a few feathers after all. Blaze must just not have noticed them before. Her anger cooled. She'd let loose the heat of her temper on such a little thing. The chick opened its mouth wide. Blaze nearly dropped it in alarm. Its hungry red maw looked bigger than its head. Well, it had seemed to like the pepper after all. Blaze scraped a stringy mass of it out of the sink and dangled it in front of the cold chick's beak. The chick gaped even wider, begging to be fed. Blaze let slimy tendrils fall. Red threads wiggled down the bird's throat. Ugh. The chick swallowed, withdrew its penny head into its ugly neck, and closed its eyes. That do you for now? Blaze asked it. The chick purred a low rattling sound. It radiated heat into her hand. It wasn't so ugly, really. She tucked its warmth close to her breast. Someone knocked at the door. Blaze gasped, jolted out of her peaceful moment. She dumped the chick into a soup bowl. It squawked and toppled, legs kicking in the air. Stay there, she hissed, and went to answer the knock. It was the guy next door, lanky and pimply in a frosty leather jacket. Hi there, Blaze, he leered. What you up to? The red tongues of his construction boots hung loose and floppy. He was gnawing on the gooey tag end of a cheap chocolate bar, curled wrapper ends wilting from his fist. Nothing much, Blaze replied. Tethered by a leash through its studded collar, the guy's ferret humped around and around in sad circles at his feet. Something about its furtive slinkiness brought to mind a furry penis with teeth. The guy took a hopeful step closer. Want some company? Not this again. Maybe another time. She remained blocking the doorway, hoping he'd get the point. The ferret sneezed and rubbed fretfully at its snout. Oh, goody. The guy next door's ferret had a head cold. Goose flesh rose on Blaze's arms. What, like this evening, maybe? Asked the guy. His eyes roamed eagerly over her face and body. The familiar steam of stifled anger bubbled through Blaze. Why couldn't he ever take a hint? She wished he'd just dry up and fly away. There was a thump from the kitchen. The ferret arched sinuously up onto its hind legs, its fur bristling. Blaze turned. Her blood froze cold. A creature, something between a chicken and an eagle, was stalking menacingly out of her kitchen. It was the cold chick, grown to the size of a spaniel. Its down-feathered neck wove its raptor's head in a serpentine dance. Its feet had become cruel ringed claws. It stared at her with fierce intelligence. The guy goggled. What the? At the sound, the chick's fiery red comb went erect. Nictitating membrane slid clear of its eyes, which glowed red. Blaze felt a peppery warmth flood her body briefly. Frightened, she stepped aside. The chick turned its full gaze on the guy. It hissed. A sound like steam escaping. The guy next door looked down at it and seemed immediately held by its stare. He whimpered softly. Heat danced between the chick and the guy next door. Then he just, vaporized. In a second, all that was left of him was a gray smear of ash on the hallway carpet and a faint whiff of cheap chocolate. Oh my God, Blaze said, feeling frantically for the open door. The ferret growled. The chick pounced. Blaze leapt out of the way. Jesus! Now they were between her and the way out. The ferret wound itself around the creature. The chick's beak slashed. The ferret yipped, sneezed. Drops of ferret blood and mucus flew. The cold chick flexed a meaty thigh to slice a talon through the ferret's middle. The ferret arched and writhed in extremis. Knots of bloody intestine trailed from its belly. The cold chick twisted the ferret's head between the cruel tines of its beak. Blaze heard the ferret's neck snap. Holding it down with its claws, the cold chick began to devour the ferret with a wet, crunching sound. Blaze could hear her own panicked sobbing. The chick sucked up looped coils of gut with little chirps of pleasure. Then it blurred. When Blaze could see clearly again, it was the size of a Rottweiler. Its feathers had sprouted into rich burgundy and green plumes. It snapped up the rest of the ferret, then crouched in the doorway. It looked at her, and Blaze knew it would burn her to death. A keening sound came from her mouth. Heat washed over her, but then the membrane slid down over the chick's open eyes. Blaze could still see its piercing stare, slightly opaqued. It inquired fondly. It had a satisfied look on its beaky face. It wasn't going to eat her. It had done this to please her. And now, the guy next door really was dried up and gone. That isn't what I meant, Blaze wailed. The chick cocked its head adoringly at the sound of her voice. Blaze sat down heavily in her tattered armchair, trying to figure out what to do next. The chick groomed, rattling its beak through its jeweled-colored feathers. Its meal was still altering its body. It blurred again. It morphed. Four-clawed, furred front legs sprouted to replace the chicken feet. The chick, cockatrice, looked down at its own body, stomped around experimentally on its new limbs. It made a clucking, chuckling noise. Would it have stayed a slow, cold chick if it hadn't eaten the ferret or the burning pepper sauce? It belched, spat up a slimy black thread, the ferret's leash. It pounced on the leash and started worrying at it. Sunlight danced motes of color through its plumage. It was very beautiful, and it would probably need to feed again soon. I am not going to be second course, Blaze thought. She moved to the door. Happily torturing the leash, the cockatrice ignored her. She grabbed her jacket from its peg and locked the door behind her. She left her apartment. The clean fall air cleared her mind a little. The animal shelter. Yeah, they'd come and take the beast away. She had to pass the Venus-built lady's garden on the way. There was a man in the yard with his back to her, a slim, bald man with a wiry strength to his build. Shirtless, he was digging a hole beside the Otaheite tree. I don't know that word. His tanned shoulders made a V with the narrowness of his waist. With each thrust of the shovel, corded muscles flexed like cables in his arms and back. Blaze slowed to admire him. He pumped the shovel smoothly into the earth with one bare, sturdy foot, but something stopped it from sinking any farther. He went down on one knee and began tenderly pulling up clods of dirt, crumbling them between his fingers. Blaze crept closer to the gate and craned her neck to see better. The man sniffed at the dark soil in his hands and poured a handful of it down his throat. His Adam's apple jumped when he swallowed. Was everybody eating something strange today? All Blaze had wanted was cornbread. The man looked round, saw her, and grinned. It was a friendly expression. There were well-worn smile lines pared into his cheeks. She grinned back. His lean face had the rough texture of chipped rock. Not handsome, but striking. He reached into the womb of soil again and tugged out the rock that had stopped his shovel. His fingers flexed. He crushed the rock between them like a sugar cube, then reverently licked up the powdery bits. The cottage door opened, letting the Venus-built lady out. She had changed into a sweater and close-fitting jeans that made her hips heart-shaped. She had a basket slung over one shoulder. A smile broke onto the man's face as the way the stone had cracked between his fingers. He offered a stone-powdered palm. "It's sweet," he said in a voice like gravel being ground underfoot. "The fruit will be sweet too." The Venus-built lady smiled back. Then she looked at Blaze. "So come and help us then, now?" she asked in a warm alto that sang of the tropics, instead of standing there staring. Blaze felt heat warming her face. But what about the cockatrice? The problem was too big for her to deal with in the moment. With an, okay, she chose denial. She let herself into the garden, trying shyly to avoid eye contact with either of them. What you doing? Getting the Otahiti tree ready for the winter. Oh, getting the Otahiti tree ready for the winter, the man replied. It won't last out in the open like this. I bury it in the soil every winter, the Venus-built lady told her. Then I dig it up in the summer, and it blooms for me by the fall. And that works? It works, yes, the Venus-built lady replied. It bears and it feeds my soul. It's a flavor of home. You gonna help me pick, or you want to help Johnny dig? Standing this close to her neighbor, Blaze could taste the warm rose spice of her breath. Even her skin had the scent of roses she ate. Blaze looked at Johnny. He was resting comfortably on the shovel, watching both of them. He grinned, jade eyes bright. Who to help? Who to work close beside? I will help you pick for now, she told the Venus-built lady. But when Johnny get tired, I could help him dig. Johnny nodded. The more the merrier. He returned to his task. The Otahiti apples seemed to leap joyfully from their stems into the Venus-built lady's hands. She and Blaze picked all the fruit, ate their fill of the maroon-skinned sweetness and melting white flesh, fed some to a sweaty Johnny as he dug. The woman owned a flower shop over in Cabbagetown. It's called Rose of Sharon, she laughed. Sharon is my name. Blaze inhaled her flower-breathed words. Johnny was a metal worker. He pointed proudly at Sharon's wrought iron railings. Made those. The ruddiness of this white man came facing down from the fire every day. Blaze imagined him shirtless at the forge, forming the molten iron into beautiful shapes. I need help at the shop, Sharon told her. You don't like the job you have now, and you have a gentle hand with the fruit you're picking. You want to come by Monday and talk to me about it? Blaze thought she might like to work amongst the flowers, coaxing blooms to fullness. Okay, Monday evening, she replied. She and Johnny dug out most of the soil from around the tree's roots while Sharon steadied its trunk. Then all three of them laid the tree in its winter bed, clipped its branches, and covered it with soil. Good night, my darling, whispered Sharon. See you soon. The bleeding hearts quivered daintily. The roses dipped their weighty heads. The sun was lowering by the time they were done. The shelter would be closed, but probably the cockatrice was asleep by now. Blaze stood with Sharon and Johnny beside the giant's grave that held the otolite tree. She ached from all the picking and digging, a good hurt. Johnny put a hand lightly on her shoulder. She felt the heat of it through the fabric. He smelt of sweat and fire and earth. On Johnny's other side, Sharon took his free hand. She and Johnny kissed slowly. They looked into each other's eyes and smiled. Sharon slid an arm around Blaze's waist. Blaze relaxed into the touch, then caught herself. Ears burning, she eased away, stood apart from the warmth of the two. I should go now, she said. Sharon replied, Johnny likes to take the earth into himself, soil and rock and iron. What? It's what I crave, Johnny told her helpfully. And plants nourish Sharon. What do you eat? How do you mean? I don't understand. Sharon said, You must know the things that nourish you. Sometimes you have to reach out for them. No, that couldn't be right. The bird birthed of the heat of Blaze's anger had eaten as it pleased, and it had turned into a monster. I really have to go now. Things to take care of. Something we can do? Johnny asked. Both his face and Sharon's held concern. Blaze looked at this man who ingested the ore he forged, and the woman whom flowers gave themselves to be supped. She took a deep breath and told them the story of the cockatrice. Blaze's hallway still had the oily smell of cheap chocolate, burnt. She stepped guiltily around the ash smear on the carpet. This is my place. Careful as you go in, Sharon warned. The apartment was close and hot. It reeked of sulfur. Blaze flicked on the light. The TV had been gutted. It lay crumpled on its side, a stove-in smoking box. Holy, Johnny growled. The couch was in shreds, the plants steamed and wilting. The casing of the telephone was melted, adding its own acrid smell to the reek. Blaze could feel tears filling in her eyes. Sharon put an arm around her shoulders. Blaze leaned into the comfort of Sharon's petal-soft body and sobbed, a part of her still aware of Sharon's rosiness and duskiness. A bereft screech, a flurry of feathers and fur and heat, a stinking hiss of pepper and rotten eggs. The cockatrice rammed full weight into Blaze and Sharon, bearing them into the floor. Sharon rolled out, but the cockatrice sat on Blaze's chest. Its wordless howl carried all the anguish of, "Mummy gone and leave me," and the rage of, "Oh, so she come back now? Well, I going to show her." Blaze cringed. The cockatrice spat a thick red gobbet at her face. It burned her cheek. The drool smelled like rotting pepper sauce. Blaze went cold with horror. Suddenly, the creature's weight was lifted off her. Johnny was holding the cockatrice aloft by its thick, writhing neck. Blaze scabbled along the floor, putting Johnny between herself and the monster. Johnny's biceps bulged, the rock-crushing fingers flexed. The cockatrice's furred hindquarters kicked and clawed. It spat. Johnny didn't budge. Fire had met stone. "Kill it for me, Johnny, do!" Blaze shoved herself to her feet. "Oh, God, Johnny, you all right?" Sharon asked. "Yes," he muttered, all of his concentration on the struggle, but his voice rang flat, a hammer on flawed steel. The cockatrice thrashed. Blaze's belly squirmed in response. The animal made a choking sound. It was dying. Blaze felt warmth begin to drain from her body. Her heat, her fire was dying. "You have to go," Blaze whispered at it. "You can't do as you want, lash out at anything you don't like." Sharon gripped Blaze's shoulder. Where was the softness? Sharon's hand was knotted and tough as ironwood. "You want to kill your every desire dead?" she asked. The cockatrice sobbed. It turned a hooded look of sorrow and rage on Blaze. Then it glowered at Johnny. Blaze saw the membrane slide back from its eyes. She lunged at it. Too late. The heat of its glare was full on. The air sizzled, and Johnny was caught. Sharon screamed. Johnny glowed red as the iron in his forge fires. But he didn't melt or burn. Yet. Blaze could see him straining to break the pull of the cockatrice's glare, see him weakening. Her beast would kill this man. Blood fire! Furious, she charged at the cockatrice, dragged it out of Johnny's grasp. She heard Johnny crash to the floor. The cockatrice broke away, fluttered to the carpet. It glared at her, hot, hot. She was burning up with heat, with the belly fires of anger, wanting, and hunger. Talk to it, Sharon told her. Tell it what you want. Blaze took a step toward the cockatrice. Bird-like, it cocked its head. It mewed a question. "I want," she said, her voice quaking out the unfamiliar word. "I want to be able to talk what I feel. God, fever hot. I want to be able to say, you hurt me." The cockatrice hissed. Or, "I'm not interested." The cockatrice chortled wickedly. Or, Blaze hesitated, took in a burning breath. "I like you." The cockatrice sighed. It leapt into her arms, its dog-heavy weight nearly buckling her knees. Its claws scratched her and its breath was rank, but somehow she hung on. Feeling its strength flex against her, she held the heat of its kneading body tight. Suddenly, it shoved its beak between her lips. Blaze choked, tried to drop the beast, but its flexed claws grasped her tightly. Impossibly, it crammed its whole head into her mouth. Blaze gagged. She could feel its beak sliding down her throat. It would sear her like a hot poker. She fought, looking imploringly at Sharon and Johnny, but they just sat on the floor, watching. Blaze tried to vomit the beast out, but it kept pushing more of itself inside her. How? How? It was unbelievable. Her mouth was stretched open so wide she thought it would tear. Heat filled her. Her ribs would crack apart. The beast's head and neck snaked down toward her belly. Its wings beat against her teeth, her tongue, her throat. It was in her throat, stopping the air. Terrified, she pulled at the cockatrice's legs. It clawed her hands away. With a great heave, its whole bulk slid into her stomach. She could feel its muscly writhing, its fire that now came from her core. She could breathe, and she was angry enough to spit fire. What on a worth thinking, she raged at them. Why didn't help me? Johnny only said, I bet you feel good now. Oh, she did. Strong. Sure of herself. Oh. Sharon leaned over Johnny and blew cool, aloe-scented breath on his blisters. Blaze admired the way the position emphasized the fullness of her body. Johnny's burns healed as Blaze watched. I enjoyed your company this afternoon, she said to them both. Simple, risky words to say, with this newfound warmth in her voice. Sharon smiled. You must come visit again soon, then. Blaze giggled. She reached a hand to either of them, feeling the blood heat of her palms flexing against theirs. And thus endeth the story. You have just heard Slow Cold Chick by Nalo Hopkinson from this collection right here, Skinfolk Stories. You know, I could probably make a graphic that did that for me instead of holding up the book, but I kind of like holding up the book. So that was Slow Cold Chick, and those were our two stories for tonight. What y'all think? I see I lost a few of y'all, but that's all right. Talk to me a little bit. Let's go back. I want to see what some of your comments have been. Put these glasses on so I can see more good. I'm sorry. Let's move through these comments. Okay, let's see. Squirm. Yeah, there was some definitely great language here. There's another one. They shivered delicately. Saniqua says, adore her vividly picturesque writing. I'm watching this horror in my mind. I'm creepily enthralled. Awesome. That's what we go for, right? That's what we were trying for. I feel you, but I don't feel you, because ain't nothing getting between me and my barbecue chicken if I really feel like I want some barbecue chicken. You feel me what I'm saying? But I understand how it could throw you off for sure. More of the special language. This was the comment that had me cracking up. He gonna die. Yeah. Yeah, you kind of knew. You kind of knew when that bird came out the kitchen, he gonna die. Angel said it's the sound effects for me. So that was actually kind of newish. I rarely put sound effects in the story. What y'all think? I kind of actually like doing it, but how y'all feel about it? How does sound effects go over for the actual story? Let me know in the comments. Okay, I see y'all are pulling a lot of the lines. Yeah, Nalo has a beautiful way of making all of this, even though it is, grotesque and horrible, or horrifying. She makes all of it, she wraps it in this beauty, which is really, really nice. That's a really good point. The neighbor never got a name. He was so insignificant. He was just next door neighbor guy. That is rough. That is rough. That's a good observation. Birds do imprint on the first thing that they see. So yeah, he recognizes Blaze as his mama. I'm curious as to how it got there. So a little bit about what kind of creature this was. A cockatrice is a mythical beast, essentially a two-legged dragon or serpent-like creature with a rooster's head. So boom, there you go. It sounded to me as I was reading it, I was like, this kind of reminds me of those dragons in the Chinese parades. So, or like the ones that you see like on little scrolls and stuff. So that definition plays, that checks out for me. Simultaneously grotesque and gorgeous. What a great collection of, yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. And again, for those of you all who are interested, who enjoyed this and some of the other stories that we have visited with Skin Folk by Nalo Hopkinson, you can purchase it at a different book list. This is based in Toronto, which is in Canada, her home. Or if you want to go to Philly, we got Harriet's Bookshop, and I believe we've got some links coming up. Let's see. Angel Monique says she loved it, and she's also solid in her veganism, whatever. Y'all ain't special just because y'all don't eat meat. Judy Lee with what might be the other quote of the night. This is what happens when you don't clean the fridge. Listen, that's word though. I will never, man, I honestly don't know how I'm going to react if I ever smell something stank in my fridge again. I'm not going to be okay. I'm not. I will call Ghostbusters. Okay, if I smell something stanky in my fridge, if it's something stinks in the back of your fridge, because yeah, I don't need any mythical motherfuckers coming out for me. I'm not here for it. Anyway, y'all, this has been Storytime with Julian. It's about 11:12, so we are close to time. Thank you so much for coming out. These are the first two stories in our spooky series. For those of y'all who missed it, just because I'm really proud of my work here, check it out. Boo! Anyway, y'all, this has been the first two stories in our spooky series. Check us out again on Thursday. We will be back with some more scary works. I will probably revisit some of the works that we've done earlier, but you can expect to hear a little bit more Nalo Hopkinson. You can expect to hear some Octavia Butler. Obviously, you can expect to hear some. Oh, please let me say it right. Tanari Vidu. I will have it down by the time we do that episode, okay? That's some of who you can expect to hear. You probably won't hear anything else from me until we get out of October, unless I do a pop-up. But anyway, y'all, thanks so much for coming out. This has been Storytime with Julian. I have been that Julian in question. And yes, Latricia, you're going to get that name that I can't say in this. You're going to get some. I just saw the comments pop up. And before y'all dip out, let me make sure. Okay, hold up. Latricia is trying to help me out. Before y'all pop out, here are the links that you can purchase these books. You know, we love to support not just Black bookstores, but we try to support local small shops, try to get away from these major concerns and help out local Black bookstores. Worst case scenario, though, we always try to support the author. So if you like these books, wherever you get your books, cop these books, all right? And make sure you hit them up on Twitter. You can find Nana Kwame Adjei Brenya there. Nalo Hopkinson's a little tougher to find, but it is important to support our authors. All right, let's work this out. Y'all gonna help me? Hold up. Ta Nana Reeve. Tanana Reeve do. Ta-nana Reeve do. Ta-nana Reeve do. All right. Did I get it? I feel like I got it. I think we got it. Anyway, again, this has been story time. I don't see Kamisha, so she can't be mad if I don't actually acknowledge. Oh, there it is. Hold up. There it is. Thank you, Kamisha. I appreciate you. We will see y'all on Thursday. All right. Stay tuned for the closeout. It just helps me out if we do the closing credits. And I will talk to you all in the after story, those of you who are a part. All right. Peace.